Welcome to Verdo Studio. Here, we believe that beauty doesn't come from something new. It blooms from what's already in your hands. An old drawer, a cracked teacup, a rusty spoon. Things once discarded can bloom again, quietly, gently, under the open sky. In this gentle corner of the world, we slow down. We walk barefoot through the garden, where shadows flicker through the leaves and every sound feels like a memory returning home. We build not from perfection, but from presence. Not to impress, but to nurture. This series brings together 21 DIY garden ideas that touch the soul, tangible, tactile, and truly possible to create with your own hands. Each idea is rooted in reuse, in the soul, in slowing down long enough to imagine something different. We guide you not just with instructions, but with warmth, with stories, and with silence. You'll find birdhouses made from drawer fronts, lanterns born from bottles, mushrooms fashioned from forgotten teacups. Nothing is bought in a hurry here. Everything is rediscovered. And if this kind of content feels like home to you, if you find comfort here, a pause, a breath, we warmly invite you to subscribe. Not because we're chasing numbers, but because we hope to cultivate a small community where hands and hearts meet. Let's create something soul-stirring together, from things the world has forgotten. Welcome to the garden. In a forgotten corner of your shed or garage, there might be a drawer too splintered to hold socks, too chipped to salvage. And yet, under morning sun and a pair of gentle hands, it can hold something far more beautiful. Life. Start with the simplest of gestures. Pick it up. Feel the grain, the weight of age. There is history in the grooves, memory in the nicks and stains. Then gather the broken things, the ceramic plate that slipped, the coaster with a crack, those chipped tiles from a renovation long past. These too deserve a second bloom. Line the bottom of the drawer with breathable material. Add a few holes if water needs to escape. Then press the shards into place along its sides like a slow mosaic poem. Don't rush. Let each fragment find its rhythm. Let imperfection lead the way. Now comes the soil, dark, loose, ready. Fill it halfway, then nestle in the plants. Succulents are kind companions for this. Hardy, sculptural, they rise in rosettes and spirals, soft with powdery edges and stubborn with sun-loving roots. But even herbs, ivy, or blooming petunias will find joy here. As the days pass, sunlight will catch the shimmer of a plate fragment, casting a mosaic of light on the surrounding leaves. Rain will streak the drawer's wood and the grout between your pieces, softening what was sharp. The cracks will deepen, moss might cling, but that's the point. You haven't just planted flowers. You've told a quiet story of reuse. You've shown that even broken things, especially broken things, can hold beauty again. You don't need expensive tiles or an artist's skill. Just tile glue, grout, a garden trowel, and a patient afternoon. You don't need a plan either. Let your drawer speak. Let your hands wander. The magic lies not in symmetry but in soul. And every time you walk past that planter, see what you've done. From a drawer that once held shirts, now rises jade and marigold. From the ruins of porcelain, new color blossoms. In this drawer, cracked and humble, life finds a second chance, and maybe so do we. Some mornings arrive not with fanfare, but with soft wings. The hush of dawn, a rustle in the lavender, and a flicker of movement in the air. This is when the garden stirs gently awake. And what better way to greet its chorus than with a gift, one made of porcelain and memory. A chipped teacup, once part of your grandmother's Sunday set. A saucer with a faded floral ring and a hairline crack from years of clinking. These aren't trash, they're invitations. To birds, to beauty, to quiet acts of kindness. Begin simply. Clean your cup and saucer. Glue them together, saucer beneath, cup atop, like a pedestal ready to receive. Use strong ceramic adhesive and let it set fully. Then attach to a wooden fence post, an old table leg staked into the soil, or even hang them with jute twine from a sturdy tree limb. Fill the cup with birdseed, millet, sunflower hearts, tiny morsels of nourishment. Watch as finches and sparrows appear, tentative at first, then bold with gratitude. They'll flutter and dip, their wings catching morning light. You might even spot a curious robin balancing on the rim, feathers ruffled by dew. What you're building isn't just a feeder, it's a moment, a reminder that old things, when placed with care, become bridges between worlds, the human and the wild. That the clink of a cup in the wind can be as meaningful as its former toast. For an extra flourish, let ivy climb the base, or surround your cup with thyme, mint, or pansies, something soft to frame the scene. If you hang it, let it sway. Let the breeze turn it gently, and let the imperfections show. A nicked rim, a faded rose pattern. These are not flaws, they're storylines. And on some quiet afternoon, as you sip your own tea nearby, you'll hear a flutter, a trill, a tiny song born from something almost thrown away. Because the garden doesn't ask for newness, it asks for presence. And when you give it a teacup, it gives you a symphony. So open that cupboard, visit the thrift store, take what's chipped, what's mismatched, and let it become something wild again. There's a kind of magic that asks for no stage, only a quiet corner beneath the leaves, where moss gathers softly and time begins to slow. Look closely, and you might see it. A curved cork, a spoon's reflection, a bottle cap turned rooftop. It's not fantasy, it's intention. It's the gentle wonder of a fairy garden made from things once thrown aside. Begin with what you already have. A chipped teacup, a cracked shell, a drawer knob long since lost its match. These are your bricks, your beams, your portals into a smaller, quieter world. You don't need instructions, just your hands and a bit of daydreaming. Lay down a bed of moss or fine pebbles as your ground. Nestle a tiny house crafted from bark and bottle caps into the shade of a marigold. Add a fence made of twigs tied with thread. A door cut from a cereal box flap, painted with love. Suddenly, you're not just gardening, you're world building. Even the smallest scraps find purpose here. Wine corks become stools, thimbles become lanterns. A broken spoon bends into an elegant swing. No part is too small to matter. In fact, the tinier, the better, it makes the illusion real. Place your scene where nature lends her hand. Under ferns, beneath a bush, or inside a wide glass jar with the lid off for air. Let the breeze move the leaves, the sun trace across your miniature world. Add a small stone path, a painted signpost, or a glass bead pond. Let whimsy guide your decisions. And the beauty is meant to be discovered, not announced. Someone passing by might glimpse a roof beneath the time. A child might crouch down and smile at the tiny swing. You've made a secret, a small invitation to imagine. This isn't craft, it's care. A statement that the world still holds surprise and softness. That your hands can shape wonder from bottle lids and drawer scraps. And in that slow, quiet act, you've also built something for yourself. A reason to kneel close to the ground, to breathe slower, to believe in joy again. So next time you're holding a broken thing, ask not if it's trash, but what kind of world it might become. In the quiet hours of a Sunday afternoon, when the world hums softly and the sunlight falls just right, you might find your hands reaching for an old jar, one that once held pickles or cookies or tea. It's dusty, perhaps cloudy with time, but it holds the shape of possibility. Terrariums don't begin with perfection. They begin with leftovers, a bit of soil from the potting bag in your shed, pebbles gathered from the garden path, moss, soft and patient, coaxed gently from a shaded patch beneath a tree, and the jar, thick glass, fingerprints, history still clinging. Begin by layering. Stones or gravel go first, a base for drainage. Then a sprinkling of charcoal, if you have it, to keep things fresh. Over that, the soil dark, fragrant, a bed for roots to dream in. And finally, your greenery, succulents, jade, ferns, or just moss. You don't need a forest. You need focus. Place them slowly. Let each leaf fall with purpose. As add a shell if you wish. A tiny pine cone, a marble that catches the light. This isn't just gardening. This is storytelling in miniature. If you choose a closed jar, mist it gently, then seal. Let the condensation rise and fall like breath. If open, let the wind play along the edges. Either way, you've made something quiet. Something that doesn't beg for attention but invites it softly. Rest it on a windowsill, or hang it in macrame beneath your pergola. Watch how the light changes the shadows, how the moss curls over time. This world is alive, but it asks for very little. Just a bit of care and your attention now and then. And maybe, as you pass it each day, you'll slow just enough to remember what it means to make something with your hands. To shape beauty from what others might discard. A jar no longer sits empty. It holds a world, and in that world, there's peace. So don't toss that cookie container. Don't overlook the cloudy jar. Let them bloom instead. Because sometimes the smallest gardens are the ones that teach us the most. It leans gently now, not to reach rooftops, but to hold blooms. Once, this ladder carried builders toward ceilings, supported painters and repairs. Now it has slowed down, softened by time, weathered with purpose. And in its rest, it's ready to cradle life. An old ladder is not just wood and nails. It's memory, each rung a story, each chip a chapter. And when you give it new purpose in your garden, you give those stories room to breathe again. Start by brushing it off. Not too much. Let the flaking paint and moss stay. That's the charm. Position it where the sun and breeze visit often. By a wall, under a tree, or freestanding near your path. Now fill its steps. Not with weight, but with wonder. On the bottom rungs, place sturdy pots, basil, rosemary, pansies in wide bowls. Let the middle host teacups with succulents, or tiny metal buckets with trailing thyme. And up top, maybe a lantern, or a little bird figurine watching over the blooms. There's no need for perfection. Let things tilt. Let leaves wander over the edge. Hang a watering can from the side. Drape ivy across the frame. This is a shelf built not with symmetry, but with soul. You can screw wooden planks across the steps for added space, or hook baskets onto the rungs. Use what you have. Reclaimed wood, mugs, even old drawers. Let them all find home here. And every time you pass this ladder, see what you've made. A vertical garden that breathes. A sculpture of growth and memory. The way light touches one step in the morning and another in the evening. It's like watching time unfold in green. There's something poetic about this act. You're not buying something new. You're letting something old stand proudly again. Not out of utility, but beauty. A ladder that no longer climbs, now elevates. So next time you see a forgotten ladder at a garage sale or behind the barn, stop. Look again. It's not junk. It's a story waiting to bloom. Let it lean. Let it root. Let it rise, not with feet, but with flowers. There's a certain quiet joy in seeing light pass through old glass, green, cobalt, amber, casting rainbows on the soil like blessings. What once held soda or wine now marks the edge of something new. A garden blooming not just with plants, but with intention. Start by gathering bottles. Not pristine ones, but the ones you've nearly recycled. Labels peeling, colors dulled. These are your tools. Rinse them gently and let them dry in the sun. You're not trying to erase their past. You're helping them carry it forward. For a garden border, choose bottles of varying colors and textures. Turn them upside down and press them half deep into the earth along a path, around a flower bed, or at the edge of a raised box. They don't need to be perfect or evenly spaced. Let the earth guide them. The line can curve, wobble, pause, like a song made of glass and soil. As light filters through the bottles, something changes. The ordinary becomes luminescent. Even the bees seem to hover longer, curious about the way green shadows fall across time and violets. But that's only half the magic. Take a few clear plastic bottles, water bottles, juice containers, and slice them in half. Poke a few drainage holes at the base. Fill them with soft soil and Nestle seeds inside. Basil, lettuce, cosmos. Place them by the window, on the porch, or along your kitchen sill. Watch the droplets form on the inner walls. Watch tiny shoots emerge and stretch. These humble vessels become greenhouses. Tiny, recycled cradles of hope. Transparent enough to teach you patience. Small enough to carry a future. When seedlings grow strong, transplant them into your main garden and repurpose the bottles again. This project isn't just about reuse. It's about rhythm, about seeing beauty in what's overlooked, about letting light and growth work together, bottle by bottle, seed by seed. So next time you finish a soda or rinse out a juice bottle, pause. Hold it up to the light. Imagine it glowing along your garden path or holding the first leaf of a summer salad. Don't discard it. Reframe it. Because in your hands, even trash can become a prison, and even a border can become a beginning. When the rain falls soft and slow, it brings more than water. It brings music, not from speakers or apps, but from tin and time and the rhythm of forgotten things. And if you let it, your garden can become an instrument, one that plays with every storm. Begin with what you already have. A collection of old spoons, rusted muffin tins, mismatched measuring cups, or dented buckets. You might find them in the back of a drawer or at the bottom of a flea market box. These aren't tools anymore. They're instruments. Thread them vertically with wire or sturdy chain. Let each piece dangle with space to breathe. From a pergola beam, a gutter, or a tree limb, suspend your creation. Make sure water can find its path from top to bottom, like a melody tumbling downward. Now wait for rain. When it comes, it doesn't roar, it whispers, taps and rings and echoes. Each drop dances from one dish to the next, creating a song no composer could write. Even on dry days, the sculpture sways gently, catching sun and breeze. A kinetic poem in metal and motion. You can take it further. Find an old teapot, clouded, chipped, still charming. Nestle it atop a pile of stones. From its spout, let water trickle either from rain or from a hidden basin refilled by hand. Let it flow into a shallow bowl lined with pebbles, petals, and moss. No pump needed, just gravity and grace. Around the base, plant creeping thyme or soft moss. Let bees pause here. Let birds sip. Let reflection settle into the water's surface. What you're creating isn't just a DIY. It's an invitation to stillness, to slowness, to listening. You don't need to buy a fountain kit. You don't need fancy tools. All you need is patience, found objects, and a love for quiet rituals. And when rain returns, because it always does, you'll hear it. A lullaby strung from spoons, a memory in every drop. So let it fall, let it sing. Let your garden hum with the gentle percussion of things reborn. Not everything forgotten is lost. Some things simply wait, quietly in drawers, tangled in boxes, tucked behind pantry doors, for the breeze to find them again. And when it does, they dance. Begin with a simple frame, a rolling pin past its baking days, an old embroidery hoop, a wire coat hanger bent into a ring. From here, the magic flows downward, strands of memory knotted with string. Gather your materials, that lone earring missing its pair, a rusted spoon with a curved handle, keys that open no door, beads from a broken necklace, soda tabs and vintage buttons. These are the voices of your mobile. Tie them gently with twine or fishing line, letting each strand hang at its own rhythm. You're not making a wind chime to clang. You're making a mobile to murmur, to move like poetry when the wind whispers past. Hang your creation under a pergola, from a sturdy tree branch, or along a porch beam. Let it sway, let it shimmer. When light finds the old metal, it flashes like memory. When the wind nudges it, it speaks without sound. You might add a ribbon, or thread ivy through the top, a feather, a ring, a tea strainer turned lantern. There are no rules, only feeling. Each item, once discarded, now becomes a piece of a larger story. A fork from your first apartment, a bead from your grandmother's bracelet, even a bent teaspoon polished by time becomes part of the whole. This isn't craft. This is ritual, a gathering of echoes into something graceful and new. And when the breeze comes, and it always does, it stirs them into a slow, silent ballet. Your garden becomes a stage. Your story becomes air. You'll find that even on still days, the mobile catches light and casts gentle shadows onto the soil. A kind of moving prayer, a reminder that stillness and motion can live together. So dig through your drawers. Listen for the objects that want to sing again. You don't need a plan, just space, patience, and open hands. Because when wind finds memory, and you've given it a place to dance, that's where the beauty begins. Some things are too loved to let go. A chair that's seen one too many dinners. Boots that danced in too many puddles. A drawer that no longer opens smoothly. A colander stained from Sunday meals. And yet, somehow they all find their way to bloom again. Start with a chair. One whose seat is gone or cracked beyond repair. Nestle a wire basket or terracotta bowl in its frame. Line it with burlap or moss. Fill it with soil, then plant something wild. Trailing ivy, purple petunias, sweet potato vines. Let the flowers spill like memories over the edges. Let the wood chip and age proudly. That chair once held weight. Now it holds life. Then turn to the boots. Rubber rain boots, bright or faded, become whimsical planters when given a second chance. Drill a few holes in the soles, add pebbles, then rich soil. Tuck in pansies, golden nasturtiums, or even herbs. Set them along a path or beside the porch. Let them stand like sentinels of joy, mud-splattered, cheerful, alive. They'll look as though they've just stepped in from a garden adventure. And drawers? They're not done yet. Place them flat or tilted on the ground or stacked. Line them, fill them, let moss creep up the corners. Paint them bright or leave the weathered wood exposed. Let succulents curl in clusters or tiny zinnias reach for the sun. Every scratch on the drawer becomes part of the landscape. And don't forget the colanders. Already perforated for perfect drainage, they hang beautifully with chain or rope. Line with coconut coir or fabric, add soil, and choose trailing plants like string of pearls or geraniums. The holes catch sunlight, casting dappled spots below like confetti. A bee might pause. A breeze might sway it gently. This is not decor, it's conversation. You don't need to fix these items. Just reframe them. What once held soup now holds soil. What once supported weight now offers color. What once stood forgotten now invites birds, bees, and wandering hearts. So look around. The garden doesn't care if something is perfect, only that it's placed with care. Let your old things bloom again. Not all music needs strings or speakers. Sometimes it's enough to let the wind pass through a memory and listen. Starts with a drawer, one you've been meaning to clean out. Inside, spoons with worn backs, forks missing a tine, a rolling pin cracked from years of flour and laughter. They're not ready for the trash. They're ready for a song. Begin with the rolling pin, wood aged by use, still strong, still lovely in its imperfection. Drill small holes along its length, gently, carefully. This will be your frame. Next, choose your chorus. Old silverware, soda tabs, house keys long without locks. Tie each piece with fishing line, clear thread, or twine. Let them hang at different lengths. Add a bead here, a button there. Tiny flourishes that shimmer when light finds them. Hang the rolling pin horizontally from twine or wire. A pergola beam, a tree branch, or a porch rafter becomes your stage. Then wait for the wind. The sound isn't loud. It's not a jangle. It's a hush, a clink, a chime, a whisper of metal against metal. It's the music of past meals, quiet evenings, Sunday mornings when biscuits rose and spoons stirred slow. And that's the magic. You've turned stillness into song. You've allowed tools once used in silence to speak again. You can build more. Try a wooden coat hanger instead of a pin. Add mismatched jewelry, buttons, even tea strainers. Let the strands twist. Let them tangle a little. There's beauty in the way time shapes what's old. Every breeze becomes a reminder of hands that held these spoons, of doors once opened by those keys, of bread kneaded on that pin. It's not just a decoration, it's an echo, a lullaby built from scraps. And the best part? You can do this today. You don't need to buy a thing. Just open that drawer. Listen, what still wants to sing? Hang it where the wind can find it. Let the garden become your concert hall. And every time you pass by and hear that delicate chorus, you'll know you've made something lasting from what nearly ended. Beneath our feet, stories often wait unnoticed. But in the garden, where stillness has its own language, the ground can speak, if we give it a voice. Start with something simple, a round cake pan, an old bucket lid, or even a cardboard mold. Pour in quickset concrete or a basic mortar mix. While it's still soft, press in the forgotten things. Marbles that once lined a windowsill, buttons from a lost cardigan, a key that never found its lock. Arrange them like memories. You're not creating perfection. You're laying a path from the past into the present. Let your fingers guide the pattern. Let your instinct shape the design. This isn't just craft, it's storytelling. Now press in a leaf, fern, maple, rosemary. Let the veins imprint. When you peel it away hours later, a fossil of that moment remains, elegant and subtle. Let time do the finishing. Line these stones through the garden, not in straight rows, but in soft meanders. Between lavender and mint, toward the compost pile, along the raised beds. This is your rhythm, your footprint softened by soil. Want something simpler? Take flat pavers and decorate them with mosaic. Tile shards, bottle caps, chipped teacups. Anchor them in sand or gravel. Fill gaps with thyme, moss, or soil. Let the plants spill over the cracks like whispers. Each step will carry meaning. Place to pause, place to remember, a place to smile at what once lived forgotten in a drawer. Even children's toys, Lego bricks, plastic rings, tiny figurines can become part of the pattern. Each piece a moment reclaimed, a tactile echo beneath your feet. The best part? These paths don't need to lead anywhere. Sometimes walking the same few feet becomes a meditation, a grounding, a way back to yourself. So next time you find a drawer full of nothing special, think again. You're holding the ingredients for a trail of wonder. Lay them down, let them set, let them guide. Because in a world always rushing forward, sometimes the most beautiful thing we can do is leave a path worth walking. As the sun begins its descent and the garden exhales into stillness, a new kind of magic rises. Not loud, not bright, but glowing with the hush of a warm memory. In this quiet light, even the humblest objects shine. Start with jars, mason jars, pickle jars, jam jars. Their surfaces carry fingerprints, scratches, a slight greenish tint from age. Clean them gently, but leave the character. These jars don't need to be perfect. They just need to hold light. Inside each one, place a solar-powered tea light or fairy bulb. During the day, they sip the sun in silence. At dusk, they begin to glow, not with a flicker of technology, but with a softness that feels earned. Suspend them with jute or wire from a branch, a trellis, or across a porch beam. Let them hang at uneven lengths. Let the wind move them slightly. Each one becomes a lantern, not for grand occasions, but for the everyday miracle of nightfall. And for those rusting kitchen relics, the enamel bowl, the dented colander, there's a place too. Drill small patterns into them. Stars, moons, spirals. Drop in a solar bulb or a candle in a heat-safe dish. When they glow, the patterns stretch across garden walls and pebble paths like lace made of light. Imperfections become part of the constellation. Even an old lampshade frame, stripped bare, can become a gentle orb. Wrap it with solar fairy lights, no glue required. Nestle it among petunias or beneath tall grasses. It won't shout, but in the dark, it will whisper, "I'm still here, I still matter." What you're building isn't just illumination, it's memory made visible. A way to sit in the garden after sunset and still see stories. A way to gift your plants the warmth of your attention, even when the sun has gone. And here's the secret. You don't need electricity. You need curiosity. You don't need a shopping trip. You need to open your recycling bin and imagine again. Because in this light, this soft, golden hush, you'll find not just ambience, but gratitude. So let the sun charge what's forgotten. Let the jars glow. Let your garden exhale into evening with lanterns made of love. In the hush between seasons, when spring flirts with the wind and petals drift through the air like promises, something quiet stirs in the garden. A doorway no wider than a hand, built not from newness, but from memory. A rustic birdhouse doesn't begin at the hardware store. It begins with a fence board leaning against the garage, a drawer front tossed in a pile, a cookie tin dented by time. These are your beams and rafters, your roof tiles and doorways. Start simple. Cut the wood not straight. Let the lines wobble. Let the saw marks show. Use what you have. Bent nails, old hinges, even a chipped doorknob for flair. The goal isn't polish, it's presence. Build your box, but leave room for story. A roof patched with bark. A wall etched with the grain of years. A perch made from a twig. Add a hook, a handle, or a rusted keyhole. Each detail doesn't just decorate. It roots the house in memory. Mount it to a post or tree. Let ivy grow near. Let moss find its corners. The birds won't care for symmetry. They'll come for shelter, for stillness, for the way it seems to grow from the soil itself. In another nook, suspend one from an old ladder rung, or tuck it under the eaves, where light falls gently and rain trickles down the side like a song. Soon, you'll see them. Sparrows, finches, robins, carrying twigs, fluttering with intention, building their homes inside yours. You haven't just made a birdhouse. You've offered refuge, not only to creatures with feathers, but to yourself, to your patience, your creativity, your will to see worth in what others discard. And when you sip tea nearby, watching it sway slightly in the wind, you'll feel it. This isn't junk. It's a cottage made from echoes. It's your hands made visible. So gather what's cracked, weathered, and forgotten. Let your hammer echo softly through the garden. Build not for perfection, but for welcome, because every garden needs a bit of wild song, and every bird deserves a home with heart. Some gardens whisper, others sing softly in the morning dew, where imagination plants itself as firmly as roots. And if you look closely, beneath thyme and daisies beside rocks warmed by sun, you may just find mushrooms that once held tea. This project begins not with a plan, but with a smile. A chipped teacup you've nearly thrown away. A wooden skewer from last summer's picnic. Maybe a paintbrush still dusty from last year's fence. That's all you need to bring whimsy back to the soil. Choose your cup. It might be floral, pastel, spotted with age. Or maybe it's bold, striped, gilded, or speckled with time. Flip it upside down. Glue it gently to a garden stake or thin bamboo stick. Suddenly, it stands sturdy, curious, a mushroom from a fairy tale world where everything is handmade and softly weathered. You can leave the cups as they are or paint them. Red with white dots for classic charm. Soft moss green for a woodland feel. Lavender, coral, cream. Whatever makes your inner child pause and smile. Seal the surface with waterproof finish to help them last through rain and sun. Then plant them sporadically or in clusters. Let them peek out beside hostas. Let them surprise someone on a winding path. Let them become tiny guardians of your herbs, your blooms, your dreams. A few drops of morning dew on their porcelain curves turns the illusion magical. In the right light, they shimmer like storybook fungi. Children will stop to stare. Guests will ask questions. Even birds might pause to tilt their heads. But perhaps most importantly, you'll feel it. That simple joy of turning the forgotten into something delightful. Of playing in the dirt not for necessity, but for wonder. And in a world that moves fast, a garden mushroom made from a teacup becomes a small rebellion. A moment of play. A decision to smile for no reason other than the fact that you could. So raid the back of the cupboard. Visit the thrift store. Look for cups not good enough for the table, but perfect for the soil. Let your garden laugh a little. Let the mushrooms bloom. In the soft hum of afternoon light, when the breeze stirs leaves but the world feels still, there's something quietly poetic about watching plants grow upward. Not out of ambition, but invitation. This is where old frames come to life again. That dusty picture frame leaning behind a shelf. That wooden drawer too shallow for anything useful. These are not trash. These are canvases. And succulents, with their sculptural calm and quiet strength, are your palette. Start by lining the back of your frame with chicken wire or mesh. Beneath that, add a layer of coconut fiber, moss, or breathable landscape fabric. Behind everything, attach a shallow box or repurposed drawer frame to hold soil. Fill it gently, not packed tight, but firm enough to hold roots. Then, begin placing your cuttings, one by one, nestled into the wire and moss like jewels into velvet. Sedum, echeveria, haworthia, some pointy, some plump. Let colors vary. Sage green, dusty rose, lavender gray. Let the arrangement be a little wild. Tilt the frame upright only after the plant's root. This takes time. A week or two in a sheltered spot where light visits gently. Water lightly only when dry, and use a spray bottle to keep control. Mount your garden on a fence, lean it near a porch, or hang it like art in an outdoor nook. Watch it slowly take shape. The way the light changes the color of each leaf. The way tiny offsets grow, filling gaps like nature's embroidery. Every crack in the frame, every flake of old paint. Leave them. Let the imperfections speak. This isn't gallery work. This is grounded beauty. Over time, your living frame won't just be decoration. It will become part of the landscape. A slow-moving tapestry. A conversation between hand and earth. And here's the truth. You don't need a green thumb. Succulents are forgiving, especially when planted with care and intention. What they need most is light, and what you'll give them through this act is a chance to be seen. So frame your wild. Let the old wood cradle something alive, because sometimes the most beautiful stories are the ones we plant on walls. Sometimes beauty grows not outward, but upward. In the narrowest corners of a backyard or balcony, where space runs short and the sun dances in columns, a garden doesn't need to sprawl. It only needs to rise. This is where towers bloom. It begins, as always, with what you already have. A colander that's rusted through its bottom. A plastic salad spinner with a cracked lid. Mixing bowls, old teacups, chipped enamel pots. These are not discards, they are scaffolds of something new. Start by stacking. Take a rod or dowel and anchor it into a weighted base. A bucket of gravel, a planter with stones, or even the soil itself. Begin layering. A bowl, then a colander, a teacup. Let each one rest at a tilt, a twist, a slight wobble that makes it human. Fill each layer with moss at the base for drainage, then rich soil. Choose plants that complement the drama. Trailing ivy, bushy thyme, rosemary, pansies that spill over like laughter. Succulents work beautifully too, especially at the top where sunlight is constant. Don't strive for balance. Strive for curiosity. Let the eye climb the tower as a child would, wondering what's up next. Want it to hang instead? Use chains or rope to suspend bowls from a beam or branch. Drill holes through handles or edges. Tie with strength and care. Space them vertically like a mobile but heavier, grounded by soil and plant life. makes the perfect hanging planter. Light, airy, with built-in drainage. A forgotten colander becomes a chandelier of green. Even old loaf pans can dangle gracefully, each holding a burst of oregano or basil. And then the moment comes when the wind moves through it all. When light filters through a metal bowl's holes, scattering dots on the earth below. When bees hover curiously and birds pause to sip from a leaf. You've made something practical, yes, but also poetic. A vertical garden is more than space-saving. It's a sculpture, a declaration that growth isn't limited to the ground. So reach up, stack bold, hang wild. Let your garden defy gravity with grace. Slow motion fire. And if you add ivy or sweet peas to climb along the sides, the frame becomes part of the garden, no longer separate, but entwined. It doesn't need function. It holds space. It gives structure to the wild. It turns glancing into gazing. Visitors will pause. You will too. Not because it changes the garden, but because it changes how you see the garden. The ordinary becomes composed. The chaotic becomes sacred. And the best part? You didn't need lumber or nails or skill, just a frame, a patch of earth, and a willingness to wonder. So let your old window stand once more. Let it hold the breeze, the birds, the passing light. Let it become a portal not to another place, but to a quieter version of this one. In the corner of your drawer, there's a fork no longer needed, a spoon that's lost its partner. A ladle scratched with memory, and if you listen closely, they're not asking to be thrown away. They're waiting to become something new. This is where the garden begins to smile. Start simple. Take an old ladle. Its bowl dented, its handle worn, and paint it sunflower yellow. It becomes the center of a flower. Add petals from bent forks, arranged around it in a cheerful ring. Drill tiny holes or use strong epoxy to hold it together. Mount it on a dowel or a branch, and suddenly, the soil blooms with joy. Want something more curious? Layer tarnished spoons like feathers on a scrap of wood or an old baking tray. Add a muffin tin chest, 2 faucet knobs as wide, wise eyes. Maybe a scrap of mesh or wire for wings. This is not a birdhouse. This is a bird, still watching, whimsical. An owl sculpted not from bronze, but from breakfast. And beneath the hostis, let insects crawl. Tiny bugs with teaspoon wings. Legs made of old nails or paper clips. Spoons curved into carapaces, buttons as eyes. These creatures won't move, but they'll bring your garden to life. None of this requires fancy tools. Just a drill, a bit of glue, a splash of paint, and a sense of play. Place them where least expected. Under a fern, between the tomatoes, on the edge of a windowsill. Let them surprise. Let them spark conversation. Let them feel like a secret joke shared between you and the soil. Over time, they may rust. That's part of it. Rain and sun will weather them. Patina will settle in. But even that is beautiful, a kind of natural evolution. A reminder that imperfection is not decay. It's design. So next time you open a drawer and find an odd spoon or cracked tin, pause. What creature could be hiding inside? What grin might emerge if you give it a little care? Your garden doesn't need statues. It needs soul. And with your hands, a pile of old utensils, and a bit of curiosity, you'll give it just that. In the hush between pulling weeds and planting seeds, your garden waits. Not just for water and sun, but for words. Not loud declarations, but soft reminders. Whispers carved in stone. Encouragement painted on wood. Sentences the earth can carry gently. These signs don't come from catalogs. They come from memory drawers and forgotten corners. Start with a stone. Smooth and river-washed, or rough and moss-kissed. With a steady hand or a shaky one that still means well, write something simple. Patience. Joy takes root. This too shall bloom. Use a paint pen, white ink, or enamel marker. Let it dry. Nestle it beside rosemary or beneath snapdragons. Let it become part of the language of your garden. Or repurpose a wooden cutting board. Its surface scratched, its corners dulled. Paint it with a base coat if you like. Then write your message in chalk paint or permanent ink. Grow anyway, watered by grace. Prop it against a crate or hang it with wire from a post. Let time weather the words. Even a rusted baking tray can find purpose again. Press vinyl letters or paint freehand. Label herbs, mark paths, or let it carry a single word, kindness. Set it where guests can see. Let it smile quietly beside the basil. The materials are endless. Chipped tiles, cracked plates, driftwood, shells, a broken piece of slate. Each surface becomes a canvas. Each item a messenger. And the messages, they don't have to be profound, just real. Breathe here. You're on time. Come back tomorrow. Place them in odd places, in the shadows of tall plants, under tomato vines, beside a climbing rose. Let discovery be part of the ritual. These signs do more than label. They ground you. On days when the weeds win, they remind you to return. On days when the blossoms surprise, they help you pause. They turn the act of gardening into a dialogue, a space where you speak and something green answers. So don't throw away that cracked board. Don't ignore the old tile. Write on it. Let your garden carry your thoughts, because sometimes the right words bloom best when planted. As daylight folds gently into twilight, the garden softens. Shadows stretch long, the breeze slows, and from the quiet earth rises a glow. Not from wire or fire, but from old bottles that caught the sun and now give it back. This is the beauty of mini solar bottle lanterns. Small in scale, huge in warmth. Start with glass bottles, the ones you usually recycle without a thought. Small soda bottles, vinegar flasks, or even single-serve wine containers. Rinse them clean, let the labels fade, and admire their curves. Each one catches light in its own way. Now the magic, solar cork lights. Available at garden centers or online, these tiny solar devices are shaped like corks and hold a micro LED inside. During the day, they charge quietly. By evening, they flicker to life. Subtle, steady, never shouting. Insert the corks into your bottles. Arrange them however you like. Line them along a stone wall. Nestle them into flower beds. Bury them halfway in the soil like glowing pebbles. Or hang them with twine from tree branches so they sway like quiet stars caught in jars. Choose placement where the sun can reach them during the day. And when night comes, let them speak. The light they offer isn't strong, but it's gentle. It lights the edge of the time patch. It softly outlines a path. It gives just enough shimmer for a moth to notice, for your eyes to feel held. You don't need electricity. You don't need a switch. Just sunlight, patience, and the kind kindness of reuse. Even better, you can decorate the bottles. Wrap them in lace, etch quotes into the glass, paint delicate patterns, or leave them bare. Let the imperfections in the glass scatter light unpredictably. And on summer nights, when the garden becomes a listening space, you'll be grateful for their hush. They won't blind, they won't buzz, they'll just glow, as if the sun left a few sighs behind before it went. So gather your bottles, fit them with light, and place them in your world, because sometimes the most beautiful lanterns aren't built, they're remembered. In a world that often spreads wide, the spiral moves inward, gathering, focusing, circling softly around the center. And in the garden, where space is precious and purpose is poetic, the spiral offers a place for flavors and leaves to grow upward in harmony. You don't need a blueprint, just a vision, a few planks, and a breath of patience. Begin with the foundation. Mark a wide circle in your soil, 3 to 4 feet across. From there, shape a gentle spiral inward, leaving enough space for your herbs to breathe. This is not a maze. This is movement. A loop of life built not from concrete but from cast-offs. Use what you have, scraps of pallet wood, leftover decking, thin logs, or even brick and stone. Stack them carefully to create low retaining walls, higher in the center, gently declining toward the outside. The height difference mimics sunlight and moisture gradients, ideal for herbs. Fill the spiral with rich soil as you build layer by layer. The structure doesn't need perfection. In fact, the charm lies in how it leans a little, bends slightly, remembers it was once something else. Now comes the planting. At the top, where sunlight is most constant and drainage is sharpest, place Mediterranean herbs, rosemary, oregano, thyme. They like it dry, bright, proud. As the spiral descends, add parsley, basil, and dill, herbs that drink a little more, that enjoy partial shade and a cooler base. At the bottom, mint, moisture-loving and vigorous. It thrives where water lingers, at the spiral's soft landing. Each tier of the spiral becomes its own microclimate. Each bend, a corner of utility and poetry. And when the sun tracks across the sky, it brushes every leaf in turn. There's something calming in the way your hands curve around the structure, in how you build not with rows, but with rhythm. Feels ancient, feels right. Visitors will marvel at its shape. You'll marvel at its flavor. From pizza toppings to tea leaves, from fragrance to garnish, every step of the spiral leads to nourishment. So take your scraps, trace your circle, build with intention, not expense, and let your herbs rise, quietly, confidently, in a spiral of taste and time. And just like that, the garden is quiet again. You've explored teacups and wind chimes, past mossy spirals and lanterns whispering to the stars. You've seen how the forgotten can flourish, how the chipped and rusted can be reborn with purpose and grace. This isn't just a project. It's a poem written with soil and string, a small act of care gently planted in the rhythm of your own life. At Verdo Studio, we don't strive for perfection. We cherish the handmade, the slightly crooked, the tender with love. Because true beauty isn't curated, it's lived. It's in the drawer you almost threw away, in a dented spoon, in the moment you decide to pause and create something not because you have to, but because it brings you peace. We hope these 21 ideas not only show you what you can build, but also remind you what it feels like to build. With your hands, with your steady breath, with the gentle sun on your back and time passing a little slower. And if these stories, these gentle garden gestures, bring warmth to your day, we'd love for you to stay a little longer. Subscribe to Verdo Studio if you feel called, not just for the content, but for the companionship, for the slow, mindful inspiration that comes like a gentle breeze at your window, reminding you that even the simplest things can be beautiful. This isn't the end, just the gentle closing of the garden gate, until you're ready to open it again. Thank you for being here. Now go outside, look around. What might bloom from the things you've almost forgotten?